Hello and welcome to this brand new video on Koyunbaba movement number 3 part 1. In this video I am going to show you how to dive in and tackle that opening section. The left hand hacks, the bar chords, where does the melody go? We're also going to tackle the first bit of section B, looking at the arpeggios and the right hand melody with fine control. There is a video already if you haven't got into this fantastic tuning available, which will pop up now. Let's dive straight into movement 3 of Koyunbaba by Carlo Domeniconi. Welcome to microstudy 1 of movement 3. We are going to be kicking it off up here at fret 8 with fingers 2 and 3 on strings 4 and 2. And to begin with, you're just going to play those two together and slide down. Even though it's not written as a 2-note slide, that is what he is implying. And then you're going to play those 2 notes on fret 7 again. Now, right hand is going to be very important for the opening of this movement. So here I am using P and M, P and M. Then you're going to use I and A to pluck the open strings. Again, we have Domeniconi using open strings against high positions. On the next note, which again is a P and M, I am using a rest stroke because I know that that note needs to come down to the next bar. The next bar is the same idea, same strings, same right hand fingering to a certain degree. So again, 3rd fret, slide down to 2nd, P and M, I A, P and M. And again, I'm using a rest stroke on that last note because that last note's got to push up to that there at 3rd fret again and into a pull off. So I'm using smart musical decisions to make the melody pop out just a little bit more when I need it. So altogether this sounds like the next bar is lovely because it's just once you've done that pull off, it's open strings, I, M, P, M, I. And then we hit a low bass note, P, M, P, M, I, M, P. This is the opening is fantastic because basically once you start to get a handle on the right hand patterns, the left hand is pretty much static to a certain degree. Again, through the first 2 movements, especially movement 2, the magic happens when you put the 2 hands together, the right hand doing all the selecting. So choose your fingers carefully and work it. One thing to say just as an aside, this opening line is actually, I think, the end of movement 2. Alright, it has very little to do with what happens for the rest of movement 3, and when you repeat this at the end of this opening, it kind of jars a tiny bit. Take it as an end of movement 2 and go straight from movement 2 into Welcome to the next microstudy. So from that fantastic opening to this movement, we are going to move into a bar, which we've already seen at the 5th fret. Domeniconi always comes back to this chord shape. So pull back here. What's going to happen from a left-hand point of view is you're going to do a hammer on string 2, 5 to 7, and then you're going to stretch out to 8. Now, as you can hear, they're the same note, but because of the tonal differences between the 2 strings, they sound ever so slightly different. So it's a fantastic oral trick that Domeniconi is using. And so, with that in mind, we then move back to the 7th fret note, and then back down to 5th string note, then back to the 5th fret note. That is it from a left hand point of view. Bar at the 5th fret, hammer on, 5 to 7, 8, back to 7, back to 5. The magic happens with the right hand, so you've got to be very careful here. This is my right hand fingering, and it seems to work. We have bass notes going P, 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 I, and then onto a melody note with an M eventually. So P, 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 I, M. Now the melody I'm going to play now together, so it's P and M, P and I, P and A, I, A, M, A. Now, the main thing here is you are needing a lot of bar strength here, so do not squeeze in with that thumb. Pull back on the guitar. Make sure that you're pulling back on the guitar and your finger is ever so slightly twisted so you got more bone to make sure it's nice and clear. Putting this all together is going to be key to this. If you need to, practice it open strings. And then put the right hand back in. Now the next bar just follows on from that idea. The next bar is literally P and M to an A, P and M, P and A, I, M. And again, you can hear the melody popping out here nicely with this. It is possible, if you want to really bring those bass notes out, to play these rest strokes. But I don't think it's necessary, because those bass notes are so low anyway and the melody is so high. There's a fantastic separation. Now the great thing is, if you do all the work at that 5th position, Domeniconi shifts it up and does the same idea for the first half of the next 2 bars, where it is a hammer-on from 7 to 9 to 10. So it's the same right hand pattern, the same left hand pattern, same idea. And then of course developing it into a fantastic answering phrase where we have the bass, and this time it's all PP down to the string 3, and your melody is going to do, your melody is 9, 7, 11, 7, 9, 7, 10, 8. Before we get into the next bar, that is quite a challenge, because you've got to be pulling back on your bar again while stretching out. So give it a stretch. If you don't find that difficult, you won't have a problem with that. PA, M, PA, M, PA, M, PI, M for that last little bit there. And then staying at that position for the last little bit of this answering phrase, we have again P, 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 I on the bass notes, and it is everything straight bar, no left hand fingers. It is right hand selection. So we have P and I, A, P and M, P, A, M, to really get that in. This one is probably where your finger is going to find it a little bit taxing and challenging. So make sure that you do these bars separately and then put them together and build up the stamina. So all together, that sounds like. Welcome to the next micro study. The great thing about the next microstudy is you've already done most of the work. We're back down at 5 doing the melody as it was on bar 5. And then we have a change right on the end here. So if you've done the hard work before, you're not going to find those 2 bars difficult. I'm going to dive straight into where it starts to diverge from that. We have left hand stays static with that 3rd finger on. I'm using M and A there, and then I'm using M and A again. Now your 4th finger is going to go on to fret 8. Your thumb has done down the bass notes, and it's going to be P and I there. So we're looking at P and I again, so that you can get that melody floating down. The melody is now here on string 2, string 3. And it's going to stay on string 3. It's going to stay on string 3 for the next bar. And into the lovely chordal ending for this opening section. So there's nothing really difficult about other than having to hold a bar chord for 3 bars and making sure that your right hand fine control is all that, because you really are going to need a lot of right hand fine control to make sure that everything floats out nicely. This altogether sounds like. To the next microstudy. Right, welcome to the next microstudy. We left it off here at fret 8 with the melody on string 3. I, A, P, I, A, and then we're going to float into a right hand pattern. Your 3rd finger is just going to float down into your 1st finger, into an open string, and it's literally going to be 5, 3, 1, open. Your right hand pattern now is I, P, A, M. And again, the magic happens when you put the 2 together. And then you're back to the top of the piece, we have a repeat. So if I literally put those last couple of bars together there, it's going to sound a little bit like this. And then your repeat. The last thing to say about this is going to be challenging. There is no 2 ways about it. It starts to dip off the challenge after this point, so it makes it nice and easy. It's just left hand, right hand repetition. Break these up into bars if needs be and practice them 1 bar at a time. Slowly. That is the only way to build this in so that it becomes really, really solid. Then put the next bar on its own. And then put them together so that you build it up into chunks and then put the chunks together into phrases. It is the only way to learn this opening. Right, let's check out what happens in the next section. Hopefully you're finding some value in this video. If you are, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. There is a ton of content coming your way. Brouwer, Koshkin, Villalobos, and of course, more Domeniconi. So if you want to get in ahead of the queue, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Right, let's dive straight back into movement 3. Rightio, welcome to what I've called the B section, just to bust it up and make it nice and easy to understand. All the magic now happens on string 3 for the first 4 bars, and then it shifts and then goes back to string 3. Right hand pattern is the right hand pattern we saw before. It is I, P, A, M. With right hand fine control, so I'm not doing this. I'm doing this. These 3 fingers have dropped down in volume, and this one has stayed up at normal volume because this is where the melody is. So our melody shoots up to fret 12, 3 12s, and then an open string. That repeats. We then have a little bit of a melody skip here. We have fret 10 going to fret 12. Back to fret 12. It's the same concept we saw in movement 2. First finger off to expose that G, and then the last we have a little skip. And now Domeniconi develops the melody. We move down 2 Fs, fret 10. We move down another tone, fret 8 to an E flat. Down 1 to the 7. Down 2 to the 5. Down 2 again to the B flat. Twice, and then the A flat. Twice, and then open G again for 3. Before we hit a harmonic there to change the pattern and to change where the melody note goes. The melody moves onto string 2. That is a lot there, but it's not as challenging as the previous micro studies, which is why it's a lot bigger chunk. So if you put that all together, it sounds like this. To the new microstudy. Main tip here is, and you will probably, if you go back and take a listen, I clipped one of the strings. Make sure that your left hand is clearing, so you have got to point directly in. You can't do any of this with your fingers. Can you see I've brought my knuckles out of alignment and up so that I can point directly in, and I've got, so there's no clipping involved. Right, we will check out the next big chunk of melody. Okay, so we left it off with the harmonic at 12. Right hand pattern does not alter here. Alright, what does alter is your left hand. So again, this is where the magic happens in this entire piece. It's fantastic, it's really clever. So we have that harmonic kicking us off. I, P, A, and then we have the same note at fret 7 as an echo. Now the melody is switching to string 2, and it's going to be right hand fine control again. P, I and A drop down. M finger pops up to start accenting that melody or bringing it up. So I'm just going to walk through it. I'm using my first finger this time. If you noticed the last time I used my third finger and just slid it down to go. Guide it all the way down the third string. This time it's the second string. So 7, 7, 7, 3 times. 5, 10, 7, and again 3 times. 5, 3, 3 times, 2, 3, open. And right there we have the first right hand change where it reverses, because it heralds the next melodic idea. So there's nothing really difficult about this. You've already seen this in movement 1 and movement 2 to a certain degree. This is a repetitive melodic motif that comes up all the way through this piece. So from the harmonics, it all looks like to the next video. Top tip here and main tip here, obviously you will need to laser ahead. There's a 5 to 10 shift and then back down from 10 to 7. Keep your eye ahead of your hand. Make sure that the right hand is doing lovely fine control, and if you do left hand and right hand, I mean, you could quite happily do whatever it is, making sure, practice that on its own, making sure that that melody is lovely. Notice the vibrato. I'm really emphasizing those notes with as many musical and technical devices as I've got under my fingers. Again, making sure you've got clearance. And you have to bring your knuckles a little bit forward of the fretboard and point directly in to make sure that you have got clearance to get those notes. All together, let's take it from the beginning of section B and let's see how far I get. Thank you very much for staying until the end. This has been brought to you by classicalguitarrocks.com. There is a link below if you want to head over there to grab the latest lessons on Domeniconi, Brouwer, all of Villa-Lobos's etudes and his preludes and how they all interlinked. There is a ton of value over on that side. So if you want some 6-string inspiration today, head over to classicalguitarrocks.com.